Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. This is episode number 70. Somehow we are still doing these from quarantine, and who knows? This may actually end soon. We'll probably do a podcast where we just sit next to each other and hug when it eventually happens, which will be nice. A bit of human contact. Anyway, I am one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin. How's it going, bud?
Not bad. I had a really interesting experience this week, having to poo onto some cling film for the first time to get a sample for the doctor.
See, I was hoping you were going to say it's some sort of strange sexual thing.
No, I don't want to be any cling film involved. That was interesting. But I think I'm on the mend. I think. How are you?
Yeah. One of the joys of getting old, right? Woke up with a bit of a mildly sore throat. It's funny because obviously I was ill for like a week-long period, and felt fine again. And you just forget what it's like to be when you feel great. You feel great, you know, and then you start to feel a little bit ill, and suddenly all those memories of what not feeling great feels like come flooding back. I'm sitting here going, well, I hope this doesn't turn into something worse. But yeah, no, I'm pretty good. Keep
sounds like some health anxiety, brother. Hopefully you're all right.
Yeah.
Here, this is a virtual cuddle because I can't give you one, even though you're like a couple of streets away.
Yeah.
That's a virtual cuddle for you, bro. All right.
I'm going to see you later at a party where I'm going to be going dressed as Carol Baskin. So, you know, maybe you can hug me there.
Maybe I'll stand in the corner and leave after half an hour, depending how I feel. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's do the segue. So, did you know? This show is brought to you by Ormsby Guitars. We want to thank Perry and the guys over at Ormsby for all of their support. It is very much appreciated. For those unfamiliar with Ormsby and what they do, they're wonderful guitars built by Perry out in Australia. And probably what they're most notable for in recent years is actually doing these runs of guitars that are actually built offshore and then brought into Australia for quality control and then sent on out. So if you head on over to ormsbyguitars.com and check out the pre-order section on their website, you can check out some of the upcoming runs, get involved for a very low price, and prepayment plans, payment over a series of months. Great way to get yourself a killer instrument at an absolutely killer price. So as always, thank you so much for the support, guys. Check them out and let them know that we sent you. Anyway, on with the show. Yeah, so as always, a huge thank you to Ormsby, Perry and the guys over at Ormsby, not just for sponsoring the podcast and for the wonderful instruments that those guys make, but the fact that Mike's desk is still covered in glitter. Isn't that right, Mike?
My microphone is genuinely still covered in glitter, like there to there and on the mic stand.
Yeah. I think that there's a fun opportunity for engagement with that. So your microphone isn't just covered in glitter, is it? While I was editing the last episode of the podcast,
thanks, mate.
I noticed.
Thanks, mate. Thanks very much, mate. Thanks, mate.
This will be fun. So I noticed that there was a point during the podcast where Mike went to have a bit of his drink and just dribbled it all over his microphone.
I poured on it for my fallen homies.
You see it hit the microphone, and I cut all the sound from Mike's microphone when it happened, so you don't get to hear this strange sound of like acid hitting his microphone, because all you hear is. So challenge, if anyone wants to go back to that last episode and watch through it and see if you can find the time code of when that happens. That's a challenge for you. Have fun, enjoy it. Probably don't do that. But yeah, we have another opportunity for some engagement with you guys today. We're going to start the show with a bit of a guessing game, a bit of a challenge. So Mike, why don't you tell us a story?
I saw an advert for a guitar, and I bought said guitar, and for what I paid, I am not unimpressed, and I gave said guitar to Levi to do some videos with.
I'll pick it up. You tell people about it.
Okay. It is a Gibson Les Paul, amber top. It's not the ugliest guitar, not the worst playing guitar, and it's not real. It's a Gibson. And I bought it because the asking price was ridiculous, and I don't mean high. As you'll see on the back of the neck, there's some fur. The owner explained to me that it had been sitting in a case, and he believes that when it was built, they lacquered it but didn't put the hardener on the lacquer. And when it was in the case during the hot summer, essentially some of the finishes went really funny. Just a clear coat, essentially. And that's apparent round the guitar. On the top, it's kind of pitted into the wood. Otherwise, not a terrible guitar, and sadly, probably passable if it was put on eBay or whatever. The chap actually explained to me that he bought it on eBay and got his money back because the person selling it was like, I can't verify if it's real or not, but we're going to take a stab and I'll put it up at like half the price it probably should go for. So the engagement here is, the guessing game is, how much did Mike pay for this without haggling?
And we can add an additional little piece of information to that. The question is, how much did Mike ask without haggling? He didn't haggle when he purchased it because the price was so appealing to him that he didn't feel the need to haggle.
I just went ahead and grabbed it.
Yeah, so you're right. It's visually. I mean, I think the top is a bit bright. You know what I mean? It's like the contrast has been ramped right up on it. And it has some mild.
I think part of that's probably the fact that it's been like not sun treated, but like kind of heat damaged, if you know what I mean. You know, sometimes lacquer goes that extra yellow. Yeah. Because the inlays have went like classic inlays as well. They're that kind of amber tinge. Yeah. And I mean, for a distance and in photos, and especially in this video, it is passable. Like, you could believe that that's a real Gibson.
Yeah, I don't want to say it plays well. It plays reasonably, especially for what you paid for it. It plays absolutely fantastically. There's that it needs some trussing, and I think that there's the potential that there might be a little bit of warping towards the end of the neck because it bows quite significantly up towards the top of the neck. But it's it's not unplayable. It's very, very, very strange, and it gives us an opportunity to again point out the real thing that Gibson should be worried about when it comes to protecting their intellectual property. So why don't we use that as a segue to talk about Gibson issuing a notice of opposition to Collings' trademark registration.
You mean Gibson, the company that's infamous for trying to sue people after not defending their trademarks?
They're doing it again. They're doing it again.
Cunts.
I'm so happy that you bought this, and I'm going to be so happy to make a video with this. Not that I'm going to encourage people to buy fake Gibson guitars, but just pointing out to people how cheap Chinese knockoffs are and how easily found they are, and how damaging that is for the second-hand market, because you should never ever buy a second-hand Gibson because you just don't know what you're getting. You just don't know if it's the genuine article.
I would say there's ways to know. There's definitely things that you can look up, and I did so with that when I got it, not because I thought it was real, just because I was like, cool, these are the steps that people have said are worth checking. Same with Fender, there are things that are giveaways, but for complete face value, seeing that guitar, even just on this video, there's a lot of things on there you go, well, maybe that is real. Like the logo doesn't look really, really cheap. It looks like it's genuinely inlaid mother of pearl.
Yeah.
The binding goes over the end of the fret tangs, which is very rare for knockoffs. It's not terribly finished. It's not completely obviously fake until you get your hands on it.
And it has the same quality control issues as an average Gibson. So,
no, excuse me, the headstock has not fallen off yet.
Yeah, how would you feel about me launching it across the room and seeing what happens to the headstock? Because we'll know it's a fake if the headstock remains attached.
The fact that you've sat it next to your desk and it's on the headstock right now, weighing on it and not broken, is just truth enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's laugh at Gibson with Collings. So Gibson have issued a notice of opposition to Collings' trademark registration. Gibson said that Collings' headstock trademark would increase the likelihood of confusion with its own designs. Now, I don't know if you're bringing this up on screen or not, but anyone that's listening, go Google what the Collings headstock looks like and what a Gibson headstock looks like, and tell me if you think they're identical or there's any confusion as to whether that's a Gibson or a Collings. They're not, right, the big thing about the Gibson one is it's symmetrical and the shoulders at the top point wider than they do at the bottom. The Collings is the opposite way around. It's probably closer to like a PRS headstock with a different tip.
Yeah.
And yet, Gibson have the audacity, as they always do, to try and make money out of somebody else from having not done their due diligence for 50 years.
Yeah, yeah. And
it's fucking ridiculous, man.
You've got the, obviously the Gibson, the classic open book headstock, top on the headstock. The Collings, actually, the only way I can describe that is it's like a side swipe haircut, you know? It's got that comb over look to it. And I like it. I think there's something really elegant about that Collings headstock.
It's
I
nice.
legitimately really like that headstock.
The strings also line up better after the nut than they do on the Gibson.
Yeah, shock horror.
In my opinion. I think that the tuner bobbins look much nicer. The truss rod cover is nicer. It's just nicer. Anyway, I'll read the story.
Yeah, go for it.
And I apologise to anyone that is still struggling to understand what I'm saying because I'm not feeling very well. Gibson has issued a notice of opposition to Collings Guitar's attempt to trademark its headstock design. And the notice, this was 3 days ago by the way, sorry, this was just in the last few days. So, in the notice of opposition, which Gibson filed on June 17th, 2020, Gibson cited the likelihood of confusion and that it believes it will be damaged by the registration of Collings' headstock trademark. Gibson says that Collings' headstock is similar to three of its own: the 1939 Emperor design, the 1963 Epiphone design, and the Dovewing design. Collings had filed a trademark on 31st of March 2019. Gibson says that it's been using its own designs at least as early as 1922 and that these designs are distinctive to both the consuming public and the guitar trade. As a result of its widespread, continuous and exclusive use, the notice continues, Gibson owns valid and subsidising federal statutory and common law rights to these marks.
Subsisting,
I'm turning to you today. Gibson says it has two firm grounds for opposition. The first being that, according to Gibson, the Collings headstock so resembles Gibson's design as to be likely to cause confusion or to cause mistake or to deceive with respect to the source of origin of Collings guitars. Gibson also contends that if the trademark is granted, it would be likely to impair the distinctiveness and cause dilution by blurring of Gibson's designs. Guitar players reached out to Gibson for comment. Fuck off, Gibson.
Fucking laughable. Absolutely. Like, I hate
Levi.
this company. I absolutely hate this company.
Can I do you one great favour here?
Go.
Scroll down past the first set of adverts and go to see more related. The first article is what a counterfeit Gibson Les Paul custom is actually like. Perfect. Anyway, sorry,
yeah,
let's
just
laugh at
highlighting,
these fucking idiots.
just highlighting the entire problem that Gibson really faces. I can't even remember the name of the guy that now runs Gibson, right?
Who cares?
Yeah, the only name that people associate with Gibson these days is Mark Agnesi, because of his ridiculous Play Authentic video, which we made fun of. And this video just makes me want to find that man, pin him down and shit down his throat. Just as punishment for being involved in the tiniest way, shape or form with this fucking monstrosity of an idea. Like, what the fuck are they thinking? What are they doing? Why do they make themselves so fucking unlikable? I'm going to pick this up. I'm so fucking happy that these counterfeits exist. These legitimate issues. I think counterfeits are awful. I think the concept of counterfeits are awful. I believe in intellectual property rights. I genuinely do. I think intellectual property rights are important. You should own your intellectual property, and I think that you should protect your intellectual property, okay? And when there's blatant violations of that intellectual property, that's bad for the original brand, right? This, bad for Gibson. Definitely bad for Gibson. Collings, not a fucking problem for Gibson. In the history, I tell you what, Gibson, I shouldn't say this, but I will say it anyway, because this will probably end up costing me a fucking fortune, right? But I will pay for your entire lawsuit. I will pay for you if you can find a single person in the world that will come forward and, heartbrokenly say, well, I purchased this guitar thinking it was a Gibson, but it turns out it's just a Collings. That's not a fucking thing. That's not a thing. That's never fucking happened. Nobody makes that accident. Nobody buys a Collings thinking it's a Gibson, right? Fucking idiots. Ah!
The real question is, what shapes are the Collings electrical guitars? Quite a lot of them are kind of, I do want to say 335 shaped.
Oh yeah, and that's the mad thing. Like, when you look at Collings, they're clearly Gibson inspired, right? But the problem with Collings is not their fucking headstock. If you want to go after Collings, you go after
They are
them
not
for
cheap.
other things. No, they're not fucking cheap. They're really expensive. They are fucking great instruments. Joey Landreth plays a bunch of Collings guitars.
I've no doubt they'll be cracking. I've never seen anything bad said about them, and they always look like they've been really well manufactured. like even down to like the ebony or the rosewood veneer on the headstocks.
Yep.
Beautiful, looks great.
Yep.
The logo looks very well inlaid,
Mhm.
clean as it comes. Even like daft things that it shouldn't be a QC issue at that price, but when you look at it, like the nuts look perfect
Yeah.
from wherever you're getting it from. You know what I mean? Just everything about it's just.
I'd have one.
Bang on.
I'd have one in a heartbeat. Absolutely no question. I'd have one in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
And part of that is because I like the brand, and a bunch of players that I enjoy have played the guitars, which to me makes them pretty cool. But I'm not going to lie. Part of it is because of Gibson doing stupid shit like this. The same with Heritage. When we were talking about
Mhm.
Heritage a few episodes back, I'd happily buy a Heritage Les Paul, just
I think
to stick
Kyle
with Gibson.
was selling one recently.
Was he?
I
Oh
think
yeah,
so.
no, yeah, I saw that. I did see that. Should have really bought it, shouldn't I?
He's got a ridiculous collection.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Not to talk about anybody else, but every day he's like, got a new guitar, selling a guitar,
Yeah.
and they're always like super
Oh, yeah.
top end boutique.
Yeah.
It's got the full package, everything stainless, whatever else. Like just
Yeah.
good on him.
What a collection. I probably should have or would have bought that. But you know, money's tight since I just bought a new amp. Whoops.
Oh no, he gave it away.
I know. What did he buy? Let's find out. Let's find out at some point. Yeah. So this Gibson thing would be enough. We'd be able to go, you know, fuck these guys, but let's move on. If that was the only time they'd done it this week,
But wait, there's more.
there's more.
Always.
Yeah. So there's a second story. Gibson
Yes.
responds to the satellite amps over the Epiphone coronet dispute. So yeah, they've also filed some sort of complaint against satellite amps for their knockoff Epiphone coronet design or dispute. Now, I'll let you read it in a second, but being an old school Racer X fan, I don't need to look up what an Epiphone coronet looks like. Okay, I know exactly what that guitar looks like. Same with the Epiphone Wilshire, like because Paul Gilbert in those early days played coronet and Wilshire copies.
He had a coronet that had two humbuckers, mini humbuckers,
Yeah,
wasn't it? And a Floyd Rose on it.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it and being like, that's a crazy double
I
cut.
think it was a Kayla. I think.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
The only footage I've seen of it, I've not seen any photos, is the Racer X Live where they do Scarified and there's some like Juan Al Dente's fucking Al Dente, sorry, his bass solo and it's fucking ridiculous. But it's like super grainy and they've got like, I think they've all got like 6 cabs behind them in different colours. I think Paul's are all pink and
And Bruce
is it Bruce Booley?
Ibanez Destroyer in that video, I think.
Yeah, and his cabs are green,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. I just want to go back there and just confirm that you did call Juan Alderete Al Dente. Juan Al Dente.
I know.
What a great name, Al Dente.
There's going to be many faux pas during this episode, so I don't apologise.
Yeah.
Fuck you all.
So yeah, you know, when we read this story, just obviously I'll bring up a picture of a coronet, but just thinking about it, can you think of what an Epiphone coronet looks like? Is this a popular brand design? Is this something that Gibson are going to be losing out on a lot of money because someone else makes a coronet-inspired guitar? Who knows? Mike, take it away.
No, I think we do know. Anyway, again, 4 days ago, Gibson responds to satellite amps over Epiphone coronet dispute. Iconic US guitar manufacturer says it must protect itself from this and other similar opportunistic tactics. Right then, mate, no bother. Gibson has issued an official statement in response to claims from Satellite Amplifier's Adam Grimm that the guitar giant was seeking to invalidate his federal trademark of the coronet, an electric guitar model originally made by Epiphone. In a statement received by Guitar World, Gibson disputes Grimm's claims, citing the launch of the coronet in the 50s and continued manufacture of artist models since 2008 as establishing its trademark rights. Further, the brand accuses Satellite of intentionally profiting off Gibson's coronet trademark. Gibson's full statement reads as follows, and I apologise in advance.
Is it because
Gibson
you're
has-
going to make mistakes when reading it, or is it because we're going to have to actually listen to something that Gibson has to say?
Both. Ironically, both.
Yeah.
Gibson has a long history Gibson has a long history with its well-known classic instruments. One such instrument is the Epiphone coronet. The Epiphone coronet was first introduced in the 1950s, which clearly established first use of the trademark. More recently, Gibson has been continuously manufacturing and providing the Epiphone Coronet for a limited number of artists since 2008. This establishes historic trademark rights and continuous use since 2008. As a result of creating, launching, investing and owning the trademark for the Epiphone Coronet, Gibson simply failed to confirm their trademark ownership on a first-use basis. The recent comments posted from the satellite owner, Adam Grimm, confirms the satellite knowingly took the name and concept from Epiphone. Brands have a right to defend themselves against this type of blatant brand misrepresentation practice, hence Gibson actions. Gibson did not file a lawsuit. Gibson did understandably file for trademark ownership and requested to cancel the Air satellites mark within the USPTO, as Gibson is clearly the original owner, has clear first use and thus exclusive trademark rights. The comment posted from the satellite owner also references a letter where they offered Gibson the opportunity to buy back a trademark that Gibson already owns as a measure of goodwill and good publicity. This is confusing at best, but it speaks more to Satellite's real intentions of profiting off of another brand's trademark and success in the market. Gibson must protect itself from this and other similar opportunistic tactics, despite the potential distractions being created. Over the past year and a half, Gibson have put significant focus across all of their brands, it should be in brackets right there, to try and sue everyone, and remain proud of the progress that has been made, i.e. not winning any court battles. Epiphone has made a complete upgrade with the recent launch of the Epiphone Originals and the Epiphone Inspired by Gibson collections. Epiphone came before Gibson, if memory serves correctly, so why would that be that way around?
I don't know about that. Gibson's
Might be wrong, but
old.
Yeah. Okay.
Go on, you keep talking. I'll check that.
I think you're right. Actually, I think Gibson bought Epiphone, and it became part of the company. You're right. Based on heightened demand from guitarists and dealers, the Epiphone Coronet has been and will continue to be a key guitar in the Epiphone Original collection. Don't believe that. Gibson has also engaged in the industry in a positive way by giving the Oberheim synthesizer brand back to the original founder, Tom Oberheim, for free, and by making sure the Slingerland drum brand found a suitable new home at DW Drums. The industry has recognised these and other gestures as true acts of goodwill and good intention. Can I just say, no they haven't, because that's the first I've heard of it, and if it was his brand, and you gave it back to him, how did you come to have it first? And what financial benefits did you get from owning that brand while he didn't? Have you made repatriations for whatever you have taken from him under his name? Because what you're claiming is that essentially anything that should bear your brand and your mark, you have full rights to, and anyone who is make money on that name is opportunistic. So was it opportunistic of Gibson to use Oberheim and take it from Tom Oberheim, and make money on his name? Or does that not count because it's not against Gibson?
You make a good point, and I'm going to go back and no, you're absolutely right. Epiphone is older than Gibson.
I thought that
Gibson, 118 years old. I know Gibson is old, 118 years, but Epiphone 147 years, founded in 1873.
So Epiphone's inspired by Gibson collections don't make sense.
Yeah.
It's a good job I inspire my dad every day, isn't it?
Do you know where Epiphone was formed?
Shotts Bonaccord. That's an inside joke for Lanarkshire.
Right.
The Bonaccord is essentially like an outdoor sports arena.
Right.
So an arena. It's a park inside some walls in Shotts that they do like the caber toss and shit in on the gala days. I use that as an answer. They do parties and stuff as well. They've got a function hall. I use that as an answer for just about anything.
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense to anyone, including you. I thought you would get the inside joke,
no.
But I'm the only one laughing, and I'm not even laughing.
So you don't know where they were actually formed? Because I obviously always assumed they were, Far Eastern, based on where the headquarters seems to be, where they're manufactured, etc.
Epiphone, I'm going to assume England.
No, the Ottoman Empire. So modern day Turkey. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, never would have guessed that. That's kind of cool. Interesting.
So Gibson stole for Turkey then?
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. Going back to this coronet story.
I'm making some pretty wild claims here. I just want to put in that these are very much tongue-in-cheek, light-hearted. Yes, I'm not saying that Gibson have stolen a country's fucking rights to a brand.
Yeah,
I'm just merely pointing out that Epiphone inspired by Gibson collection doesn't make sense, at least if you go by timelines. However,
it's funny because for any other brand you wouldn't need to point that out, but it's Gibson, so you never know. They might sue you.
I know.
On the note of this,
there'll be a cease and
coronet,
desist in the fucking post already.
yeah, I hate. I'm not on the side of Gibson with this, but this is a slightly different story, of course, to the Collings one because Satellite, if they are using the Coronet brand as though it's theirs, and Gibson do legitimately own a trademark to that, it's still, I totally get it. Like it is it's something that they absolutely would want to look into and would want to deal with. But also at the same time, I don't know, to me there's something like, okay, Coronet, sure, Gibson have used that name. I just don't know if it's a kind of trademark that you'd even want to protect. You know what I mean? Like
I'm looking at them right now, and it pains me to say this. They are, by looking at them, every part an exact copy, down to the headstock.
Yeah, but like, Gibson aren't taking issue with the actual the physical design, are they? They're taking issue with the trademark Coronet name. It's the use of the term Coronet they're taking issue with, not that you've literally stolen our design.
I think it's all of the things, but I think it's more so like not only are you taking our design and using it, which we have not sued you for, despite our litigious fucking history, but you've went to the further disrespect of trying to claim it as your own.
Yeah.
I mean, Satellite's quite an old brand itself. I didn't even know they still made guitars. I remember there was a Satellite bass back in high school in the music class, and it was a piece of shit. And I mean a piece of shit. I'm not saying all the guitars are pieces of shit. I'm not inferring that in any way. But
well, it was in a high school, so
the only guitar that Satellite Amplifiers sells is a Coronet.
Yeah.
And they call it the Satellite Coronet guitar.
The fact that they don't call it a Gibson Coronet, for me, is just enough to go, so what, And, okay, I'll throw this in as a kind of final thought on it. If Gibson weren't such monumental cunts when it came to things like this, or maybe not this particular example, but just generally the way that they choose to conduct interbusiness relationships and their PR, I would have a lot more, kind of sympathy for them. But they've thrown away all possible goodwill that I could ever have for them. And because of that, they could do something like this. If Ibanez did this, I wouldn't take issue with it. And I don't, well, no, of course, that does make me a hypocrite, but I just don't fucking care because I do not give a shit about giving Gibson the benefit of the doubt. I do not give a shit about trying to be a nice guy to Gibson because they're just consistently not nice guys to people. I'll just pick it up one more time. Go after the Chinese, you monumental dicks, because they're an actual problem. Collings aren't a problem. Heritage aren't a problem. Satellite aren't a problem. China are a problem.
Right, Trump.
Yeah. China. Okay. Should we...
Sorry. I couldn't help myself.
I think in my entire life, that's the first time I've attempted to do a Trump impression.
It was good.
Yeah. China. That was worse. So...
Speaking of absolute wank, right?
Yeah.
This story about Guitar Center is pretty bad. I mean, this is a fairly... an op-ed, isn't it? It's very an opinionated piece, but I can see exactly why it's been written with such vitriol and anger.
Yeah.
Right, so Guitar Center comes from musicians' throats during the pandemic by Graham Alexander. This is on victorrecords.com. All right, I'll read this out quickly. This Saturday, if you head to your local Guitar Center music store chain, you may be witness to one of the most transparent, wholesale, vile and immoral acts committed against the musicians of the music industry since the tech industry decided to remove most value from recorded music 2 decades prior. Starts off with pretty light tone.
Yeah.
Guitar Centre is hosting a sellers-only music instrument gear open hour session where they will purchase musicians' used musical instruments for upwards of 60% to 80% below market value. Now, normally I would say, hey, if you're willing to sell for that or have to, go for it. But Guitar Centre's Wall Street Terra Firma Capital-backed suits have dreamed up this immoral and predatory purchasing session 5 months into worldwide shutdowns of public events that have caused musicians to go gigless for the majority of the year thus far. Sorry, it's really hard in my eyes. Further, as the US continues to grapple with the COVID-19 virus and its economic tolls, some cities believe live music won't return fully until 2021. So picture this. You're a musician, you're broke from the previous 5 months, and all you have left are your tools of the trade. You're also hungry. See where I'm going with this? The long-failing corporate-owned Guitar Centre chain of music stores has been disintegrating for a decade in the face of the changing music industry and the collapse of music as a pastime for many of the up-and-coming generation. Guitar Centre has continuously been downgraded to junk credit ratings by major firms, which followed with huge reorganisations, layoffs, a decreasing store experience for the consumer, and practices like forcing American manufacturers like Fender to distance themselves from America's largest music instrument retailer. I would say that's partially to do with Fender as well, knowing the business practices in the UK and how music business really works in terms of music retail, but we'll leave that as it is. Guitar Centre's newest stunt is another in a long line of pathetic approaches that Terra Firma Capital organisations engage in that ultimately destroy their own industry for the sake of profits in the moment. Make no mistake, soaking every dime from musicians during the worst crisis of the music world since the Great Depression, separating them from their tools of trade during a time of duress, only serves to harm the health of the music industry in the long run. Removing musicians' long-term ability to work for the sake of short-term corporate profits, while having enough bailout and investment group cash on hand to weather the storm, while banking on the economy returning and reselling musicians' used gear at proper market value, is a predatory practice that cannot be condoned by any musician or music fan. Hell, it shouldn't be condoned by economists either.
Oh, he's not going to like my take on this then.
Probably not. You want me to read the rest of it now we can get into it?
Yeah, go on.
There's only a couple more paragraphs. So it continues. Now, what I'm going to say will elicit cries of, but what about the employees of Guitar Centre? But bear with me here. This is more of a PSA so that you're aware of how Guitar Centre suits really think of musicians. We don't matter, and we never have, and we never will. I am not a fan of cancel culture, but do yourself and all musicians a favour and purchase direct from the manufacturer. Small music stores struggling to remain in business. You can find many of these on reverb.com. And note, this company just increased sellers' fees by 5%, which is also pretty vile. It didn't increase by 5%, it increased to 5%, but also now includes the cost of shipping and insurance as well as what you sold it for, which is pretty fucking predatory. Taking money off you for the shipping costs, if you ask me. I think that's pretty out of order. You know what I mean? Like a total value fee. Falling in line with eBay there, which is also pretty vile, but at least it's a portal for small businesses, or even sweetwater.com. Avoid giving these Mitt Romney-looking, Ayn Rand-loving, terra firma American psychos the ability to claim profits on the backs of out-of-work musicians and allow them to collapse into the ground where they should have been over a decade ago. As for their employees, they've been waiting for the hammer to drop for years. Let the free market rise a music instrument retailer that cares about the health of its own industry. Oh, and since most of these employees are musicians anyway, consider hiring them to play music for you. They'll be happier doing that anyways, and they'll probably make more than they do at Guitar Centre.
Right, where do I begin? I don't like Guitar Centre. Let's preface this with that. But his whole point here to me about this being opportunistic, profiteering, if you like, from Guitar Centre is just as valid a claim as me saying this is opportunistic outrage journalism for the sake of opportunistic outrage journalism, in the hope that your work will be shared far and wide and people will talk about it, as we are now. And the reason I say that is because it seems to me that he's inserted some of his own perspectives into this by saying they will purchase musicians' used musical instruments upwards of 60 to 80% below market value. Now, looking at the advert that Guitar Centre have posted, or any marketing they post, right? they're not stating that. They're not saying we're putting on a special event where we'll give you 60 to 80% below market value for what your stuff is worth, right? That's just the accepted kind of rates that you get from Guitar Center when you sell stuff. He's put that stat in there, that percentage in there, because that's just what happens when you sell something to Guitar Center. That's how their business functions. They make more profit buying and selling secondhand gear than they do from buying, brand stuff from distributors and selling it, because the margins are razor thin, right? The secondhand market is massively profitable in any industry, like the video game industry, wherever you look. Secondhand market, massively profitable for the retailer compared to selling brand new stuff, right? So that's the way Guitar Center have always done business. But to then go on and say, terra firma capital, the dreamed up by Wall Street, terra firma capital again, 2 paragraphs later, you then go on to talk about how they're a failing business, how they've been waiting for the hammer to fall for 10 years. Like, this is a business that is dying. You're absolutely right. This is a business that is dying. And I'm not going to say I have more sympathy for them or even the same amount of sympathy for them as I do for the struggling musician, right? But much like anyone else, right now, Guitar Center are probably doing anything in their power to try and bring in enough money to make sure that they're still going to be here in 2 months' time. And cool, you do you, right? The most important thing is you don't have to sell stuff to Guitar Center if you don't want to. And if you do sell stuff to Guitar Center, it will be because you need the money. So the question I have to ask for people that would write an article like this is, what are you suggesting? That Guitar Center should throw away the concept of profit in order to give why not just have Guitar Center just give musicians free money? Like, that's just not how things work. His point that he's making is, I get where he's coming from, because he's sort of saying that, well, musicians haven't got any gigs, so they've not got ways to make money. So all they've got left are the tools of their trade. And, to quote, they're hungry. Right, cool. So what you're saying is if they go to the level where they would sell their gear, it's literally because they need the money to make ends meet. Okay? That they need it. They need the money to make ends meet. People have had to do this not just because of a pandemic, right? That's the reason businesses like Cash Converters are in business. The pawn shop industry, that they profiteer off of that exact situation, 365 days a year, right? That is how they make a fucking living. Guitar,
just a secured loan,
yeah,
and that's entirely how it works.
Yeah, and to me, this is the same situation. Like, if the musician needs the money because they're hungry and they've got a family to feed, right? And what's the dream here? That either Guitar Center, like I say, just hand out free money, or Guitar Center don't? They just stop buying secondhand gear? Cool. So where is that struggling person that needs money to feed his family or to pay for his mortgage or whatever it is that he needs to do? Where is he going to get that money from now? If you just cut off the ability for them to sell their guitar and then just wait until 2021 when they eventually get to go back to gigging, is that just going to magically make things better? No. This is a bad situation for everybody. To just turn around and point at a Guitar Center and say that somehow this is Guitar Center's fault, I'm not going to say that this is shitty. Well, let me rephrase that. I am going to say that this is shitty, okay? But to me, it's no more shitty than their business model was last year.
The way I see it, is pretty much the same as you're saying there. It's just like, we all know that if you go to any guitar shop and try and get a trade-in price that you think is good, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get a price, and if you're happy to take that price, you're going to take it. Or if you're like me, tight as fuck, you won't. You'll be like, cool, I know I can make way more money selling it privately, so that's what I'm going to do. And that is something that you need to reconcile yourself. If you are willing to sell your guitar or trade it in for way less than you think it's worth, then that's on you. That is your choice to make. But you can't get 2 bites of the cherry. You can't go in and sell it, trade my guitar, and I also want the rock bottom price on this. It's just not how it works.
Well, I want to go and I want to sell my guitar, and I want to sell it for 10% below market value, because you need to have a razor thin profit margin on this. Just sell secondhand. Just sell secondhand. I just think, like, this story, the way that this has been written, there are so many more egregious examples of Guitar Center's behavior and the way Guitar Center conduct business. There will be a lot of struggling musicians out there now, and that's awful, legitimately awful, right? But I just don't think that the Guitar Center should be putting up adverts saying, this Saturday, I like the fact that they're saying this Saturday we're opening from 9 till 12 for used buys only. Okay, so the advert says, so bring us in your gear, stop in or call, and they give us a number for details, right? That's good, a sponsored post like that, because there will be musicians out there that need money. They will look at that and go, an ad like that might actually make them see that and go, actually, you know what, I probably could sell a guitar, but I won't sell it to Guitar Center. I'll advertise it on Facebook or whatever, because it will be a way for me to bring in money. It'll be a way to feed my family. I don't think, would it have been nice for Guitar Center to say, for a limited time, we'll give you 20% more than we would normally give you? Yeah, sure, it'd be nice, but that's just not how the real world works.
Especially when we're talking about what's meant to be like a global pandemic and verging on some sort of financial depression. They kind of just invent money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all know that they're never going to go, cool, we'll just cut our profit margins.
Yeah.
So it helps other people.
Yeah.
It's not how businesses work, sadly.
Especially,
it'd be really nice if it did.
And it's not how failing businesses work either.
No.
And let's not pretend that Guitar Center are anything other than a failing business. I don't know what the law is like, how the situation works in the States, but over here, I know that we have agencies in place where if shops are profiteering from the pandemic, selling essential supplies for marked up rates, etc., there are places that you can report that over here, and that is not just frowned upon, that they're not allowed to do that. But this isn't. I think if you're looking for examples of profiteering off of the pandemic, I just don't think this is a very good example of it. Personally, I just don't think it's a good example of it. I think businesses are gonna business, and this is just the business doing its same thing that it always fucking does.
I get you.
Yeah. But what do you guys think? Let us know in that comment section below. Am I totally wrong? I feel that after the podcast, Mike's probably going to vehemently disagree with me on my position on that, because you were very quiet on that one. But such is life. I'm sure many people in the comment section will disagree with me on that one, but that's how I feel on that one. It just, fuck Guitar Center for being Guitar Center, not fuck Guitar Center for this one little example of them just Guitar Center being Guitar Center, is what I would say. Yeah. Cool.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted there.
No worries.
I fuck Guitar Center. I know people who have worked for them in the past, and some of the shit they say they offer, for example, they'll always give musicians time off to go on tour and stuff and whatever else. Face value, at best.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Steve Vai.
Let's talk about Steve Vai.
Jesus.
Do you want to read the story?
Yeah, do it.
You want me to do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Steve Vai is planning an entire album of 8-string instrumental guitar.
Yay.
Virtuoso teases the heaviest stuff I could possibly dream of.
Yay.
That's just what we need.
Yeah.
2 more strings of wank. Not that I'm saying he has wank, but guitar wankery. Yeah. Steve Vai is well known as one of the original proponents of the 7-string guitar with the iconic Ibanez Universe, but as of yet, we've yet to see any recorded evidence of the virtuoso wielding an 8-string. But it seems that may change in the not-too-distant future. In an interview with Guitar.com, Vai revealed he has 3 new albums in the works, one of which features his most extended range compositions yet. My original plan was to record 3 trio-based instrumental guitar records that have no overdubs. Now that'd be a much cooler story.
Yeah.
I'm going to one-take a couple of albums, and if it's fucking shit, then it's shit, but at least it's real music.
Yeah.
That's great. I like that. And that's something that's fairly interesting about the death metal community, actually. In brutal death metal, there's a lot of bands that frown upon any sort of editing. Yeah. And I'm talking like one-take drums playing 280 BPM fucking 16 blasts and stuff. It's like a band called Excoriation, I believe, are very much a first time, and it's going to be raw and natural.
Yeah, the raw,
which is cool.
Yeah.
Like, there's a cool vibe to it. You know what I mean? It shows that they're like, nah, you're going to get the real music. Not that I'm against editing. If you're into it and you make it sound good and you want your music to be closer to the grid and a bit more produced, then that's cool. That's fine. I like both. But I do have respect for musicians that are like, nah, this is going to be completely natural.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve Vai says, one record was going to be all clean guitar tones. The second one was going to be my normal dirty tone. The third one was going to be this tuned down 8-string stuff, like the heavy stuff I could possibly dream of. Is he just going to play Meshuggah?
Yeah.
Oh, and there's the small matter of 2 more releases on the cards too. There's also the Real Illusions trilogy. I've already released 2 records, so I decided that I should do a third one. Vi continues. I've started to pull that together. On one of my Alien Guitar Secrets, I did an acoustic and vocal version for a song, The Moon and I. The response was so great that I thought, you know what, I'm going to make an acoustic record. Just solo acoustic guitar and vocals. Unfortunately, we shouldn't go expecting any of these releases anytime soon. It's difficult for me to talk about them because my plans change, Vi admits. Once I let something out that I'm doing, people expect it right away. So I should preface this with, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah. Vi has at least released 1 track from the All Clean album he refers to, last month's joint shifting extravaganza, Candle Power. No.
Yeah, I really like that bit in there about on my Alien Guitar Secrets, I did an acoustic vocal version of the song The Moon and I. The response was so great that, well, shock fucking horror. Man performs in front of his sycophantic audience and is surprised that they enjoy the thing that he plays. Like, come on. That's not how you test.
Man with cult following has cult following react to things.
Yeah. I just don't buy this. I don't think this is actually a thing. I just think this is a perfect opportunity of the kind of thing that you just say in an interview because you're smart enough to know that then this will get reported by people. I can't think of anything less fucking appealing than a man approaching his 60s going, well, you know what? I'm really down with the kids too. I'm gonna play some of that 7-string stuff and that 8-string, the 8-string stuff. Like, yeah, they're absolutely right. Steve Vai, one of the original proponents of the modern 7-string guitar, the 7-string electric guitar. Maestro Alex Gregory will try and tell you that he's the father of the modern 7-string guitar. But
well, yeah, he's got the only signature 7-string Strat that we're aware of.
Yeah.
That isn't a signature.
That was never released, and was awful. So yeah, the Ibanez universe, of course, was as far as I'm aware, the first kind of mass-produced solid body electric guitar, 7-string. Worth pointing out that I mean 7-string there. And of course, many of those early, real explorers of that extended range thing, bands like Korn and who else played 7-string? Fucking hell, in those early days.
We'll just say Korn. Neil Day.
Let's just. For some reason, all I can think of is Killswitch Engage, because in the My Last Serenade video, I think Joel is playing an Ibanez Universe. But
is he? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm sure he's playing Ibanez Universe.
They're playing like Drop C. Why would they have? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm relatively sure. Could be wrong. Time whizzes by, and I'm getting old now. But yeah, so he totally did bring that thing to prominence, but not in terms of actually playing it. When you think of Steve Vai playing a 7-string, I think for the most part, for me at least, I think of like being really annoyed at trying to learn songs like The Riddle from Passion and Warfare, because it's played on a 7-string, but there's like 4 or 5 notes that are played on the low string. It's not like he's grooving on that low B. It's not like he's truly exploring that 7th string. For me, like I don't want to say I've made fun of, but I've made comments about Tony McAlpine in the past, because he played 6-string. He's a great 6-string player, and then he played 7-string, and he just plays 7-string like it's 6-string. Okay, cool. You can kind of get away with that, but then he started playing some 8-string on some stuff, and again, he just plays the 8-string like it's a 6-string, which is him playing it like it's a 7-string. Like he's just playing 6-string riffs, but on the lowest string, and it's just not within their wheelhouse. And I'm not saying that as though they're the old guys and they don't get to do it and I'm the new kid, because it's not in my wheelhouse either. I can't just pick up an 8-string and be convincing with it. It's a totally different world, a totally fucking different world. And I just don't think that Steve can do that. I just don't think it's going to ever work for him. I don't see it. Because when I think of Steve being heavy, I think of, like Bad Horsey. I can't think of anything worse than just him playing stuff like that, but on an 8-string.
It's like a weird country groove, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Don't get me wrong. Cool tune. But
absolutely.
yeah. I think I I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be proved wrong on that. I'd love for Steve to put out an 8-string record and just be really, really impressed with it. But I just think that, like, my favourite 8-string bands that use 8-string would probably be like the Heavy Metal Ninjas. I love, absolutely love the way Richie Allen uses 8-string. It's modern and it sounds modern. It sounds like somebody that understands modern music, but he's got that appreciation of what came before, because he sounds also like Steve Vai and Jason Becker. He's got that lead guitar thing to his...
Oh, he can shred like a fucking animal, and he's always really tasteful. His tone's always really good. Great vibrato, great control.
Yeah.
See, just when you're talking about 8-string albums and like the musicians who use an 8-string in like an authentic way is maybe the way I would put it. Like, it's like you're using the instrument for the extended range as well as everything else. I honestly think the first album that made me want to play extended range for the time that I owned an 8-string was After the Burial, Rare Form, which is like a kind of metalcore album all on 8 strings.
Right.
But some of it's super playful, some of it's heavy as fuck, and they use the full range between the two guitars, constantly like harmonising each other and then going into like really heavy breakdowns. And I love that album.
Right.
There are 2 versions out online. There's the reissue, which has been remixed with different vocals. The reissue sounds better in terms of the drums because the snare isn't quite hidden under the clicky bass drum. But the second vocalist doesn't do the tracks justice like the original one did, in my opinion, just for when I heard it. So I'm a bit biased. But for anyone that wonders the real effective use and whether it be worth having an 8-string, if you're into like kind of shreddy stuff or heavy, I would really implore you go and listen to that album, because it's a masterclass. Like, it's great. To start off with, you don't know it's on really, really down tuned guitars. It starts off with a kind of riffy tune, and then when it does kick into the bits where the 7 and 8th string are being used, it gets heavy. The bass is really well blended in, and there's some cool fucking tracks on that album. Really, really cool.
So one more time, that is?
Sorry, After the Burial, or the artist, and the album is called Rare Form.
Cool.
It was actually a consideration of mine when we were talking about
the collaborator,
me
the
and
crossover
Tom.
we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. I think what you've just done there, where you've like we've both referenced extended range artists. I think that's, I don't want to say essential, but you would like to think that if you're going to pick up an 8-string, you're going to pick up a 7-string, you're doing it for good reason. I just think that if you sat Steve Vai down and said, so why is it you want to play an 8-string other than to appear relevant? Who plays 8-string that you really enjoy the music of? He's just going to say Tosin Abasi, and he's going to say Tosin Abasi because he's played with Tosin on things. You know, he's done like guitar experience type things with Tosin. Sure, it is entirely possible that someone like Steve Vai could look at the 8-string and go, well, this is cool, and I've never heard anyone really using this, so I'm going to just do my thing with it. All right, that's fair. But part of me just looks at like all the authentic bands that you think of on like the metal scene. If you think of like Metallica or Slayer or Megadeth, let's go with those 3. Slayer they're a heavy band, but they've never felt the need to like really tune low.
No, I think the heaviest they've went C.
There are. I feel actually that there's some Kerry King. Is there Kerry King playing on a 7 on a couple of tracks?
No, I think you're thinking of like God Hates Us All. It's in C,
right?
Because you start off with a that's like the lowest they've tuned as far as I'm aware. Everything else is standard or there or thereabouts, maybe half a step down.
Yeah. And
kind of like Testament. Testament had low that was in C,
yeah.
And then after that, everything went back to normal again.
Yeah, I always admired that.
Back to standard.
When I was younger, just hearing bands talk about like, well, you know, it's easy to sound heavy if you detune. So we want to not have to do that to sound heavy. We want to make something that sounds heavy even when we're not detuned. I think if Slayer had just gone, no, let's put out an 8-string record, or Metallica or Megadeth just at some point had gone, yeah, why don't we do this whole album on like extended range stuff just to mix things up, you would just look at that as just being so inauthentic, so trend following. And to me, this story just comes across as massively trend following. So Yes. No, thank you, Steve. Please don't do that. Please continue to be Steve Vai. Just continue to do your Steve Vai thing.
You know what? Like, I'm going to get the fair opportunity that it might come out and be something cool. I might end up writing some cool riffs, and there'll be some really cool rhythmic stuff because, and this might sound a bit judgmental, I wasn't too sold on the idea of Matthias Aklund getting a hold of an 8-string because I know he was talking about it for a while, and I was just like, I don't know, like, when I think of Matthias, I think of really cool shred stuff and the really high harmonics and being like the other end of the register.
Yeah.
And then I've watched a few videos of him playing that 8-string and just doing like really minted conical style rhythm stuff, and I'm like, cool, right, fair enough. Can't I really argue that this guy knows what he's doing, especially when it's like, how do I take this instrument and do something different with it, or even just like a bit more unique to me? And it can't argue. Like, I can't really think anybody else that does the conical thing quite as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing. Like, I can often come across as a negative, cynical motherfucker, right? But I think people...
That's why we're the guitar souls, bro.
Yeah. I think that people would be mistaken if they thought anything other than I'll happily be proved wrong on this stuff. I would love to be proved wrong. I would absolutely love it if Steve Vai put out a record where he played 8-string that I listened to and went, fair play, that's pretty fucking good.
Aye.
I'd love that. I'd love to talk about it. I'd love to sing his praises and stuff. I'm just, saying I just don't see it happening. So there you go. Challenge has been set, Steve. Do it.
We'll wait and see.
Okay, should we move on to Audi Meola? Maybe a slight example of, I don't want to say genuine profiteering off of the pandemic thing, but this is laughable. I got sent this by so many people over the last week. This was sent to me by students. It was posted on my Discord. This was tweeted at me by people. Even Barry McAleenan messaged me last night sending me this going, have you seen this? I'm like, you bet this is on the show that we're recording tomorrow.
I mean, if I was fucking rich, I would be on about it, but I'm not rich and I'm not that bothered.
Would you? If you were rich, if you had, I don't want to say limitless money, but if you had limitless money, you'd go for this, would you? Tell people about this.
If I had limitless money, I would go for anything I wanted, but I don't, and that's the point, right? Anyway, this is Aldi Meola, a fine taste and music at home with the legendary guitarist. So on Aldi Meola's website, you all know Aldi Meola, arguably one of the most famous pioneers of shred almost, isn't he? Really?
He certainly was massively influential on a lot of the electric guitar shredders that we think of as being,
His speed and runs were dynamite, like ridiculous play. He also, does he not do flamenco as well?
Flamenco inspired stuff. He's certainly not a flamenco guitarist himself, but
I only really know him for a couple of different things. Sure. And Chasing the Devil Down the Highway, or what's that called again?
Race with the Devil on the Spanish Highway.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's got some ridiculous shredding in it for it being, what, 70s? 60s?
Yeah, it's early 70s, I think.
Early 70s? Aye.
So I've relentlessly tried to get into Owl's music over the years, and just absolutely none of it ever speaks to me, ever.
I kind of put him in the same level as like Jan Ackerman as being like a real inspiration for people who are actually inspirations that get cited day to day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
If your guitar hero's probably going to say Aldi Meola was the guy that got me right into this playing fast stuff. Yeah. So if that's fair, and Jan Ackerman obviously being a ridiculous guitarist himself.
Yeah, the famous example actually of him doing something that I do really enjoy is, of course, the guitar trio stuff with I was going to say Mike McLaughlin there. Of course, it's not Mike, it's John McLaughlin and Paco de Lucia. The Friday Night in San Francisco is obviously an iconic live album, and it is a great album, but honestly, on reflection, I listen back to that and think that Al is the worst on it. So, it's definitely not my cup of tea. And like I said, I have tried. So go on, tell us about these 3 packages, Mike.
I will do. I mean, the first thing I would say is that at the very top of the page, underneath the Aldi Meola, fine taste in music at home with the legendary guitarist, there's a photo of him in his kitchen, some beautiful flowers and some, I'm guessing that's food and salad that he's created. It looks like a screenshot for the Hannibal TV show. That could be Mads Mikkelsen.
I just want to go an additional, like, I can get on board with this. What you said there was not plates of food in front of him. You said what looks like food and salad. Like we're acknowledging the salad isn't really food.
It's not. I do like salad. I like vegetables, but it's not in place of other things. Yeah. Not in my mind anyway. If that's your cuppa, wire in, I don't judge you. Anyway, Aldi Meola is offering 3 limited VIP packages, all right, which is the gold, platinum, and diamond. Notice how it's not bronze, silver, and gold.
Yeah.
They're all super high tier, right?
Yeah.
So the gold
they
is
are when you see the price.
I mean, so that's 6 people in total can attend this evening.
Yeah.
Each tier has 2 people available at a time. So we will go with gold first, which is meet, greet, and eat. Dinner with Aldi Meola at his New Jersey home, 30 minutes outside of New York City. Al will prepare a homemade 3-course Italian dinner in your presence while discussing anything you ever wanted to know about his music, life, and work. Inside stories about Return to Forever, the guitar trio with John McLaughlin and Paco de Lucia, as well as collaborations with greats such as Pavarotti, Paul Simon, Steve Winwood, Frank Zappa, and many others will serve for an unforgettable evening. Before you leave, don't forget to take pictures and videos and get an exclusive selection of signed merch and specifically designed t-shirt to honour this unique occasion. Price $7,500 for up to 2 people. Now, my question is that per head?
No.
Or is that as a package for 2?
Yeah, I imagine that. Well, it says 7,500 for up to 2 people. So if you wanted to go on your own, you had no one to go with you. Because let's be honest, if you are an Aldi Meola fan, the chances of you knowing someone else who's also an Aldi Meola fan are relatively low.
Unless you're in like a fan club or something. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
I tease. I kid.
So for $3,750, you can have a 3-course meal and someone's autograph.
Yep.
So you are paying for Al's time.
Let me also throw in that these are socially distanced.
I'd fucking hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the States, it might not be.
Oh, no. Like, if you go further into this and look into more details, this is socially distanced.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Respecting the CDC warnings.
You don't even get to touch Al for your 3 and
I know.
nearly $4,000, right?
Yeah.
That sounds a bit pervy. So anyway, sorry. Yeah. Platinum in-depth studio session. Sounds pretty cool. This upgrade includes everything mentioned above, plus an intensive tour of Al's home studio, equipment and guitar collection that has never been shown to the public before. You're invited to bring an informal 30-minute solo performance, followed by a jam session with Al. Bring your guitar and let's go. $9,500 for up to 2 people.
So an extra $2,000 and he'll show you his studio. I can't fathom paying $7,500 to go to someone's house and eat dinner and them not quickly just show you the studio. Like, if you come to my house, like, if I'm out with you and you drive
make
me
this your
home,
new tier on Patreon. Just make that a new tier. £7,500. You can come to my house and look in my back garden.
Yeah.
Pet the dogs. And I'll give you a Rice Krispie cake.
So when I go to Jay's birthday party tonight, right, at the end of the night, I'll probably end up getting in a taxi and being driven home by a taxi driver. When I get back to my house, I am likely to say to the taxi driver, would you like to see my studio? Right? Because that's not something that I put a price tag on. That's something that I'm very proud of. And if somebody paid $7,500 to come and visit my house and talk to me, I'm probably going to go, do you want to check my studio out? Come on, well, let's have a little bit of fun. Absolutely.
Can I give you some advice, mate?
Yes, please do.
Please don't invite randoms into your studio. No. You're asking for trouble. Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, but your point stands.
Yeah.
It's quite a hefty price tag to put on, come to my house for dinner and pay me more and I'll show you some equipment that you've probably seen before.
Well, you get to jam with him as well. Because, you know,
that sounds great.
At every opportunity in my life when somebody's wanted to jam with me, the first thing I do is get out my credit card machine. It's like, can you afford it? Can you afford a jam? Because I don't enjoy playing music. So if you want me to play with you, give me the monies. Like, that's just not a thing. Anyway, the diamond?
Yes, the guitar dream, apparently. Oh, you need to be asleep to fucking pay that money. This experience includes all above gold and platinum, plus signed copies of Al's handwritten music charts, and a one-on-one guitar lesson or jam where you get to play Al's personal guitars, starting with his legendary black custom Les Paul, used on all Return to Forever albums, Land of the Midnight Sun and Elegant Gypsy. never seen before custom Gibson prototypes, has Ovation used on Friday night in San Francisco, and a wide selection of acoustic and electric guitars. Finally, you choose between an Al Di Meola Ovation model or a PRS Prism, both used by Al in previous tours and recordings, to take home with you. Price $16,500 for up to 2 people.
And that doesn't include 2 guitars by the looks of things. It doesn't. I can't see, because it's a single booking. So you pay the $16,500 and you get to bring someone with you. So there wouldn't be 2 private lessons and 2 guitars out of that. Not that.
No, I think you will. I think you'll get a guitar each.
Not a
I
chance.
would hope so.
Not.
I would fucking hope so for £16,500.
Yeah, not a chance. So yeah, I'll just we'll move on from this because I just think reading it was enough. Ridiculous enough. I'll just throw
We'll let
this.
other people make their minds up, won't we?
Yeah. What would you pay, our dear listeners? What would you pay? I've got 2 questions for you. What would you pay to go to Al Di Meola's house and have dinner for the evening, and get to jam with
Fuck all if he's no in.
Yeah. What would that be worth to you, right? And then, as a comparison, what would you pay to come over to my studio and sit with me and Mike and eat something from the chip shop and play guitars, and if the price is high enough, maybe we'll wank you off. Like
Telling you now, big man, that's the best sausage supper in the west of Scotland. Come and get your fish.
Yeah. So I'll just read this last sentence from this though, just to make my point, right? So the house will be professionally cleaned and sanitized before and after the event. Social distancing will be in place and all CDC guidelines will be followed. So you get to sit and have dinner with Al at a distance with a mask.
Also, when you get to pick which guitar you want, you can't play it before you decide, because if you touch it, it'll need to be professionally cleaned.
Good point. Also, I hate stuff like this kind of not faux charity thing, but right down at the bottom, like it's almost the last thing written on the page. Parts of the proceeds will go to musicians in COVID-19. What is musicians in? Is that the name of an organisation? Musicians in COVID-19?
No, what it means is Al Di Meola exists at the same time as COVID-19, and he's a musician.
Yeah.
So part of the money will go in his pocket. And the rest of it will go in his bank.
No details on how much, what percentage of this will go to help those,
I don't know.
less fortunate. But
well, we can hope it works out.
Guys, if anyone has any concerns about this, questions, if you want any further information, you can email friends@aldimiola.com.
That's nice.
Okay, final story.
Speaking of dumpster fires,
this is fun.
Trapt's new album sells just 600 copies its first week. Have you seen Chris Taylor Brown online since this has happened, claiming it's closer to 4,000 and saying that they are taking legal action against any media outlet that's reporting it's only 600, because it's like, I don't know if it was either he claimed it was like censorship or they're trying to defame him or something. He also said before any of this happened that it's actually been the best pre-orders they've ever had and they're going to be smashing it out the park. And he's just went on full DEFCON mode, and every time he gets caught out like just talking shite, he's like, "You're just jealous," or whatever. I mean, he's like the most petulant internet allowed child I've ever seen. So we'll have a wee read through this, right? This was the 15th of July, right, on Loudwire. I couldn't find there was a couple of tweets he sent, and one was like, "This is the best pre-orders we've had for any album. We're going to make great money. It's going to shift so many copies and blah blah blah." Right? Anyway,
no, hang on.
You all right, son? So after months,
even just bragging about 4,000, like
in a week, that's a lot of albums for a band that aren't really active.
That's
you know what I mean?
$40,000, let's say, of pre-tax, pre-expense income. How much did this album cost to produce? How much goes into the cost of distribution?
Just wait a minute, right? So I mean, the fact that 600 copies, you're talking about $6,000 maybe revenue before expenses. Sound right? After months of absurd Twitter battles, vocal Trump support, trying to fight Ice-T, which he would get his cunt kicked in, by the way, I wouldn't mess with Ice-T, and blaming George Floyd for his own death, Chris Taylor Brown finally has the first week numbers for Trapt's latest album, Shadowwork. Just 600 copies of Shadowwork were sold in its first week, landing short of Brown's public predictions for the record. On Twitter, Brown predicted moving at least 5,400 copies in its first week. The Trapt leader made the forecast while arguing with one of his many haters. With all your genius marketing, why doesn't your new album come up first when Shadowwork album is googled? The online agitator asked. I can't wait to come back in a month and hear the excuses for another failure. What do you think? 2,700 first week?
If only.
I know. Brown responded, definitely double that, if not more. Cannot wait to run it in. Thanks for promoting my band, moron. Trapt's previous album.
Hang on. Does that mean, surely, by saying thanks for promoting my band, moron, he is acknowledging that even when you're being negative about Trapt, you are promoting his band. So why would you be then threatening to sue any outlet that runs with the story that you only sold?
I can't remember exactly what it was. I couldn't find the screenshots to send them. But
Chris, if you watch this, you probably won't. You blocked me on Twitter, remember? I was a bit, and Facebook, a bit too heavy for you. Chris, if you watch this, we're just helping to promote your band.
That's it, mate.
We just want people to know that you're a monumental cunt.
As a total besides, Gary Glitter wrote some good music.
He also sold more than 600 copies.
Well, I'm just talking about the idea of fame versus infamy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That all publicity is good publicity. I don't think it really is.
Yep.
Some bad publicity is good publicity. Not all of it. I mean, lost profits aren't doing great anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway,
continue.
Trapt's previous album, 2016's DNA, sold 4,500 copies its first week, meaning Trapt's first week numbers have dropped 87% with Shadowwork. The album is also Trapt's first since 1999's amalgamation not to chart on the Billboard 200. Turns out making everyone hate your band isn't the best marketing ploy, though Brown was convinced the heightened media attention he's received in 2020 would result in increased album sales. Full disclosure, the 600 sales figure doesn't take into account Trapt's apparently gigantic Pandora streaming numbers. The official SoundScan number, which placed him at number 22 on the current alternative albums chart, began circulating within the hard rock industry, and soon after it made its way to Twitter. In its first week, Bury Tomorrow's Cannibal sold twice as many albums as Trapt, while a Powerwolf Best Of compilation matched the sales for Shadowwork.
So, I want to say I feel bad for Chris. I do want to say I feel bad for Chris, because it must be immensely frustrating thinking back to their debut big release. I've got the stats here. The self-titled album that obviously features Headstrong. That album sold 1.5 million copies in the US.
Somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
I mean, when you listen back to Headstrong, you're like, that is fucking dog shit.
Yeah.
I mean, the chorus is quite good melodically, but the actual verse riff, that's so shite.
Yeah.
So shite. And the vocals are terrible.
1.5 million copies is a lot of albums.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I think it was in the right context. It came out when nu metal was on a big boom.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's some bands that did nu metal and deserve the praise they get. Linkin Park.
Mm-hmm.
As a guitar band, I don't care what anybody says, man, everything about that's great. The production was great. The songs were great. It was a voice for an angsty generation.
How many copies of Hybrid Theory do you think sold?
Oh my God. I think it went triple platinum, so I can imagine it would be a good number. 100 million. You laugh and joke, that's not an unrealistic number for an album that came out, 20 years ago, maybe?
It's 11 times platinum in the US, so it sold 10.5 million copies in the US.
Fuck me, 11 times platinum.
Yeah. It sold more copies in the UK than Trapt's album sold in the US. Almost 1.6 million copies sold in the UK.
I think if you count up worldwide sales, you probably wouldn't be that far off 100 million.
Oh yeah, you're definitely way off.
You think so?
Yeah.
What was the worldwide sales in?
It doesn't have
24 million, something like
that. I've got like 60,000 Argentina, 350 Australia, okay. 50,000 Belgium, 250,000 Brazil, 500 Canada. Germany almost did 1 million. across Europe 4 million. You're probably looking at 20 million, which is still an astonishing amount of albums to have sold. But the point I was making with Trapt is like, for me as an artist, having released music, or even as a writer, or whatever it is that you happen to do, right? You always want to make sure that the next thing you do is the best thing you've ever done, and you want it to be better than the last thing. You want it to be more successful than the last thing. And I can't imagine how frustrating it must be for someone like Chris Taylor Brown that has to wake up every day and be just barraged by the entire internet telling him what a monumental dick face he is.
What's dynamite about that is just exactly what you said, right? In May, he tweeted, "The new Trapt album, Shadow Work, is the best piece of music Trapt has put out and probably one of the top 5 albums that will ever exist for all of time."
Yeah, it's like just such a
Are those words haunting you at the moment, Chris?
It's a desperate
Are they sitting on your chest and are they taking up real estate in your brain? Are they rent-free?
Yeah.
Rent-free, these people are all living in your brain, bro.
Yeah.
You fucked up.
Fucked up majorly. He's never, ever going to come close to capturing the success that he's once had. And therefore... even if his album had sold 10,000 copies in the first week, it's still just insignificant compared to the success that he's once had. So even if he's successful by today's standards, he's still a failure by his own standards, no matter what happens. So, Chris.
You know what I love about him, right? You know how he's like unapologetically Trump?
Yeah.
Like absolutely gobbling his cock. There's a tweet here from July 16th, just 2 days ago. We sold 3,750 albums our first week with 0 mention from the music industry. Over 1 million streams as well. So many haters who will never do 1 million of anything. iTunes, Amazon and Google didn't report our pre-sales of 1,825. This was a concerted effort to keep Trapt off charts. You're right, the music industry are against you, Chris. That's it. You're the underdog here. Shut
up. For some reason, I've still got the Hybrid Theory page open. 27 million copies, making it the best-selling debut album since Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction in 1987, and the best-selling rock album of the 21st century. So,
you know what? I think it's deserved.
Yeah,
I love that. I think between that is it Brad Seifert? Is that the guitar? No, it's not
Delson.
Brad Seifert.
Brad Delson.
Brad Delson and Wes Borland. They reinvented like rock guitar. Certainly, at least the guitar sound.
You know what's about to happen.
Tunes down, great distortion. What's going to happen?
You ready to play a game?
Oh, here we go. Are you going to ask me Linkin Park songs?
No, I'm going to ask you to list all of the songs from Trapt's debut album. No,
that's not a game. That's a punishment.
How many songs can you list off of Hybrid Theory?
One Step Closer. Paper Cut.
Yep, that's track 1.
Place for My Head. There's
Place for My Head. Yep.
I can't remember the name of the Mr. Han one. The interlude. Might be called interlude actually. I don't think it is. I said One Step Closer, didn't I?
Yeah. You're forgetting their 2 big singles.
In the End was on that, wasn't it?
And I think their first single.
I'm looking at the video in my brain and I can't think the name of the song.
The first single I ever bought, actually.
You've picked like the wrong time to ask me this, man. Like I'm not feeling well at all. My brain is not working.
Well, the reason I did it is because we had a few bits of feedback on the last episode. Lots of people enjoyed the Metallica thing.
People love seeing me struggle. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Some people were surprised that they could name more than you, etc. So,
oh really?
Yeah.
Like, I can play a lot of riffs. I can't remember a lot of the song names. Yeah. I'm just being honest with that. Like, if you put a guitar in my lap and you know it yourself, people can mention a riff and I'll be like, cool, oh, I can play that. Or put it on and I'll hear it and I'll go, I can suss that out. But see, remembering track listings and shit.
Would you like me to give you the big single?
No, because I can picture it in my brain. I'm watching the music video. The music video is like a girl trapped in ice and there's like a sink running and blood in it and it's no Numb. That's next album and the music video for that's them in a church and somebody at the dinner table, I'm sure. I'll go for it. Who cares?
Crawling.
Go for it.
Crawling.
So it's crawling in my skin. That's right.
Yeah, which was an absolute belter of a track as well.
I even liked Reanimation, by the way. That was a great album.
I think it's a really good album.
Meteora's not bad either.
Yeah. I'll reel off the track list. Paper Cut, One Step Closer, With You, Points of Authority, Crawling, Runaway, By Myself, In the End, A Place for My Head, Forgot.
You know what? I listened to that not that long ago, this full album. Yeah. It's really good.
Forgotten, Cure for the Itch, and Pushing Me Away. Short album as well, 37 minutes long. So
full of bangers too.
That game of trying to list off albums, I was worried, that you might get your revenge on me and just like name a random album and get me to name as many songs off of it.
That's coming next, right? You need to tell me all the tracks from Defeated Sanity's album. All the albums, every one of them. You need to list all the albums and the songs.
I tried to do it myself with. I was just sat in the house and I was like, right.
How many anal cunt albums and songs do you know?
I'll just list off as many offensive words and I'll get probably 15.
Aye, you're probably right. I mean, there are some horrendous song titles. You know, they are so inflammatory. They released an album called The Picnic of Love to upset their own fans. And it's like love ballads, like songs called like Mother, Wife, Lover, and like You're my life partner or something. I can't remember the name. And it, where previous albums were things like fucking Hitler was a sensitive man. You robbed a sperm bank, you cum guzzling fuck, or something like the really horrendous song titles, man.
I tried to do it with Rust in Peace the other day. I was like, right, how many tracks can I name off Rust in Peace? Mm-hmm. I think I got like 4 or 5. So I'm just
Holy
as bad.
Wars, Hangar 18, Dawn Patrol, Tornado of Souls, Take No Prisoners. What's after Take No Prisoners? Bastard. Lucretia. Poison Was a Cure.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn Patrol.
You've done Dawn Patrol.
Did I already say that?
Yeah.
5 Magics.
5 Magics, yep.
Right, 1 left, I think.
Really obvious
last
one.
Track.
Really obvious one.
Hangar 18. Did I say Hangar 18?
You said Hangar 18. I'm sure you said Hangar 18. But no, really obvious one.
No, I'm not getting it.
What song do you think is on an album called Rust in Peace?
My brain's not working. Just say
the
it.
answer is Rust in Peace. Polaris.
Right. Oh fuck! I don't know what is Rust in Peace. I always think of Polaris. That's made for dick. Good song.
Yeah, good song. So we definitely rather talk about Megadeth and Linkin Park than Trapt. So just one more time, Chris Taylor Brown. That blew up in your face, motherfucker.
There's a doubler for you. Look, wait. Let's zoom in, right? Let's zoom right in, and then we'll get it right in. Look at that beautiful HD fucking middle finger. Look at it.
And while we've got our hands up at the screen like that, do it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know? This show has been brought to you by Ormsby Guitars. If you are unfamiliar with Ormsby and what they do, I would recommend you head on over to ormsbyguitars.com. Absolutely wonderful instruments made out of Australia by Perry Ormsby. You know, they focus on a lot of really interesting things, probably most notably the multi-scale thing. You can see a couple of them hanging behind my head. I am a big fan of the Goliath series. Having said that, I've also almost ordered myself a Hype over the years, and I think the thing that Ormsby do that, well, lots of companies have dabbled in, but they do a great job of it, is these runs of builds. You can go on their website now, check out the pre-order section of their website, and you will see a series of upcoming runs of guitar. You can get in on those with prepayment plans and really get yourself a nice, well-built instrument for an unbelievable price. So thanks to Ormsby Guitars for supporting the show. Go and check them out and let them know that we sent you. Thanks very much. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another Guitar Souls show comes to an end. Huge thank you to our friends.
I didn't shit myself. Good start.
Huge thanks to our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. You guys rock. Please do go and check them out. We love the feedback that we get from our viewers on how much you've enjoyed checking out the Ormsby stuff because of us mentioning them. So that means a lot to us and obviously means a lot to Ormsby. So continue to send them your love and kindness and support in the way that they send us their love, kindness, support and glitter.
Yes. Genuinely, I'm still finding glitter in my scalp and shit, by the way. Like, I'll come out the shower and I'll look myself in the mirror and I'll be like, are you fucking kidding? like 5 or 6 bits just still stuck in my scalp, and my already thinning hair to make it even more obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't really.
Perry, you're exposing me as nearly bald, mate. Come on.
I'm actually bald. Like, look at this.
That's because you're an idiot and didn't use the right fucking bit on your clippers.
No. I did. This is a choice thing now. Like, this had grown back. Okay. This was a decent length yesterday, and then I shaved it again. I actually really like it really short like that now.
Aye.
So yeah, I can keep that updated. Keep it at that length.
Big fucking opie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm gonna throw a video game thing to close, right? So I'm gonna throw a recommendation to everybody.
Okay.
I posted about this on Instagram. Needed some time to kill after playing The Last of Us, so I picked up a game that I'd been looking forward to playing for a while. A game called Man-Eater.
Make you work hard, make you sweat hard. That one.
Yeah. And it is a game where you play as a shark, as a bull shark.
I've seen this.
Yeah. It is an open world RPG where you play as a shark and you just go around eating humans. It is the most bizarre and stupid game I've ever played, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you can pick it up nice and cheap. No, that's the important thing, nice and cheap. I paid full retail price for it, which I think was £35, and I got the Platinum Trophy in maybe 13 hours. So it was not a long game by any stretch of the imagination. But if you can pick it up for about half that price, that's a goofy little bit of fun. And the world needs more goofy fun. So play some goofy fun before I sit down today, maybe. Well, no, because of this party. But I'm hoping to start Sekiro Shadows Die Twice tonight, maybe tomorrow. So
there will never be any more guitar content again.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm relatively good at games like that, so I'm looking forward. I like the challenge. I love the challenge.
You do. You get obsessed with platinum every game you play.
Yeah. Actually, Man-Eater was the first platinum I've got since Control. I think I'm sitting at like 89 platinums now, which is a relatively decent amount. That's my passion, right? It's collecting platinum trophies because I'm a fucking nerd. So Man-Eater, maybe give that one a go if you just want to burn a little bit of time and eat some humans. And you want to get over your tremendous fear of sharks like I have. So
Are you actually scared of sharks?
Yeah, well, I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to be afraid of. Do you not?
I mean, if I was swimming in the sea, I'd be scared of sharks. Is that what you're talking about? In the context of being in open water?
Oh, yeah.
Or just in general?
You won't catch me in the sea, no.
Oh, okay. Shitbag.
You'll catch me maybe at the, on the beach. I'll paddle out and I'll wade up to chest height, and I'm all right with that, right? But I can't even remember where we were, but we went...
Do you know that not every part of the sea and every beach has sharks on it?
Yeah, I know, but why take the risk? Why take the risk?
Because it's quite an easily calculated risk, and it's not really a risk.
Yeah, I know, but still, why take the risk? We went.
Fair enough.
We went snorkeling somewhere, and that made me very uncomfortable. And I may have told the story on the show actually.
Was that Malta?
I think it was Malta. Yeah, it was Malta. Malta, Gran Canaria. I don't remember.
I'm sure he told me it was Malta. When I've been to Malta, and the water is crystal clear when you go down to like Valletta and stuff, so I'd imagine that would be where you went.
Also, when we went on jet skis, and I was thinking this would, just be off a dock. We go to a dock and there'd be some jet skis. No. We go to a dock and get on a boat, and they take us out to the middle of the fucking sea, like a mile offshore, and put me on a jet ski. And I'm like, I do not want to get on that. Thank you very much. This is a bit too far from the shore for my liking. Thank you very much.
Bag.
I got on it and did my thing and hated every second of it. But yeah,
you must be the only person I know that can get on a jet ski and be like, "Nah, this is shit. I hate it."
Well, I hated it because the water was relatively choppy, and I just felt like you were just bombing along, and it was just a constant series of a jet ski hitting the water and then jumping up and smashing your testicles over and over and over. It was a very uncomfortable experience.
Did you not stand up or preface that by like putting some strain in your legs to avoid
it was
getting
just more. It was every time I did it was just more of an aggressive bump, and very uncomfortable.
I've never been on a jet ski.
No,
I quite fancy it.
Yeah, I think Hayley fancied it as well, but she couldn't get on it. She was on the boat and she was supposed to get on the jet ski behind me, and every time she tried to get she got out of the boat, tried to get on the jet ski, has no balance whatsoever, so just tipped the jet ski over.
Oh.
And then didn't have the upper body strength to pull herself up onto the jet ski from the water. She tried her best to pull herself up, and every time she did, she'd like get onto it a little bit and then go, and then flip it over again. And I ended up in the water like 4 fucking times. And then Still one of the funniest things that ever happened. She then just went, "Just leave me here." Just lying in the water in a fucking life jacket, just floating. Just go on without me. So I did.
Oh, poor lassie. That's a shame.
Yeah, very funny. I live here now. I live in the sea.
I have made my peace with it.
Yeah. Anyway, any closing messages for our lovely fans, Mike?
Yes, just like Levi said, thanks very much for your support. Thanks very much for your messages. I saw the message that Levi is referencing directly that he sent me recently. Any feedback you've got for us, positive is obviously lovely. Any feedback you've got for us in general, we take on board. Any suggestions for content, we're as collaborative as possible. And please continue to support us because it's quite nice and I have fun.
Yeah, there is a link in the description if you would like to buy some Guitar Souls merchandise. It'd be great if someone actually did that because no one's bought anything in like 6 weeks. So
I think we're going to fresh up some ideas.
We just need to make something that people actually want, like, free stuff or a podcast that more people will enjoy.
That's it. That's what we get for being like super fucking specific, because people actually like in real life ask me like, "Oh, it's a podcast, you enjoying it?" And I'm like, it's good, man. It's good. Do you listen? Like, no, it's too specific for me. Like, it's just that I'm a drummer or whatever. Like, that's fine. Like, it's almost like this kind of admission of like sheepiness. Like, no, I don't. Like, it's fine. I'm not expecting everybody in the planet to listen to it. I don't think my grand's going to tune into the Guitar Souls next week.
Yeah, like from playing in bands growing up, like the thing I hated about playing in bands was having to go round and ask your friends to come and see you play. Like, I can't think of anything worse than having to have sympathy views. I don't want sympathy listens. If people listen to the podcast, great. If you're a close friend of mine and you don't listen to the podcast, cool. I don't take that personally. I love the fact that I have some close friends that do listen to the podcast and thoroughly enjoy it. Like, I love like Martin Miller. Martin Miller lives for this podcast. Loves it. Absolutely loves it. Listens every week.
Poor
guy. I know, poor guy. But yeah, that's to me is so much more valuable than 50 of my friends listening just to support me, because it's not really supporting just listening. We're here to entertain, and if we can entertain you, then yeah, awesome. But yeah,
I'm not going to lie. These kind of things kind of make me fangirl a wee bit.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Who would have thought this is where we'd end up in life? Anyway,
we'll continue to do our best.
Much love, guys, and until next time.
Bye, buggers.